Hi, everybody. It's Lori Webb, and I'm here for the Entrepreneur Hotline. My company is named InSpock, and what I do is inspire, inform, motivate, and give that swift kick in the butt that is necessary to take you out of your head and into action. Now, in this segment, I am actually speaking, not hosting, but a little bit of hosting in terms of hosting an idea of being more conscious of your holiday season and the way you utilize the resources. This is wrapped up in sustainability, and I'm going to start with giving you a little statistic that comes from Sundale Research of last year, around August. They gave the figures for the amount of gift wrap that the US goes through, uh, had gone through last year, and that was 12.8 billion with a B. 12.8 billion tons, right? Uh, that is insane. That is including wrapping paper and tissue paper and gift bags. And actually, I'm sorry, that was 2017. And that is no doubt growing and something that we have to nip in the bud. The amount of trash that gets consumed during this holiday period, especially in America, is absurd when you think that it is something that gets put on, like when you wrap your gifts, you spend the time, you tape paper, you embellish, and then within a few seconds of opening that gift, it becomes basically landfill. And that's something that's really of critical value, not critical value, it's critical to evaluate at this point because we just don't have space in the landfills. We don't need to have all of that gift wrap. You can make beautiful gifts and not have to spend the money, not have to have the headache, not have to spend the time going shopping and purchasing, from place to place, the wraps, the tape, the ribbons, the cards, all of those things. There are new ways to do it. You can use what you have in your home, and you can use a technique that has been around since the Edo period in Japan. It is a Japanese technique known as Furoshiki. I'm going to write it here because I can't say it. And if you know Japanese or are connected somehow, you will be wondering what I'm trying to say. You might not recognize it. So I'm going to put it here. It's called Furoshiki. And what I'm doing today is I have a cloth, and this cloth is just one example. This is actually a designed organic cotton cloth from Organic Company. It is one of the products that Brian has at his store. Another plug for Brian. I did a furoshiki workshop at Brian's store several years ago, and the owner of the company was there, and she decided to add it to her product line. So this is a 90 centimeter cloth, right? A cloth 90 by 90. Can you see that? 90 by 90. See? 90 by 90. It's the same. So you got yourself a square. And what I'm going to recommend, if you want, take a second, go see if do you have a scarf? Do you have a handkerchief? Handkerchief's going to probably be a little bit small. Now, this is a 90 by, a 90 by 90. I like the 70 by 70, which is, it's somewhere in between, but this allows you more possibilities. Now, also about the cloth, about the furoshiki, the idea of this cloth came about in the bathing houses, that people were using it to wrap up their clothes and carry it to the bathhouses, and it made it convenient. You could also use it to wipe, to dry yourself, and it made it very convenient to have with you. And there are different versions of this idea of wrapping cloth. It's bojaji, Bojaji in Korea. They also have a tradition for doing it, but the Japanese tradition is the one that I have followed and spent countless hours educating myself in. If you're interested in getting more information, the Japanese embassy has, I don't know, hundreds of examples of how to wrap. For the purpose of this talk, I'm not going to show you hundreds of ways to wrap. I'm going to show you the key ones, because by learning the key ones, then maybe you'll actually adapt it. How I use this cloth in every day is I usually have it in my pocket, in my pocketbook. And when I'm out at the grocery store, or if I also have variations of this. I have silk scarves that I've purchased secondhand, or that scarves that I've received from my family, or I have cloth I sew. So I have cloth that I've also used, and I have it with me, folded up. It doesn't take that much space. It fits. And then when you suddenly find yourself called out, you suddenly go shopping and you have forgotten the responsible organic cotton bag, then you have something that you can use. Ideally, reuse something that you have, cloth. If you're thinking of throwing something out, just you could cut it up, a old T-shirt, or you can go to a secondhand shop, get something very reasonably. If there isn't a box of scarves, I would be very, very surprised. And you can integrate this as something that you start to do just in your everyday. I'm going to start with showing you how to make the knot. So you take this, there's some different ways of doing the knotting, but these two knots, can you see? You think, oh, see? In the interest of being able to see, I'm going to move the Furoshiki sign so you can get a little bit better of view. And see, it's the basic knot, see? And to release that knot, you pull it like this, and boom, you're finished. Okay, so that doesn't seem like very difficult, right? Another way, you take the fabric here and you wrap it around. I wrap it around my hand. See that? So if you grab it like you're holding on to a rope, then you wrap it around your hand, slide it through. See that? And pull it, right? Easy. That's a knot on one end. So for example, see, I've taken this. I'm going to take that knot out again so I can show you properly. This is just for making a bag when you're going out to buy presents, right? Before we get to anything else. So you have that. I made it into there's a triangle here. And the reason I also, by the way, like the 70 by 70 is because it takes a little bit of space to do it. And the 70-70, I go into stores and I'm able to just do it. So I take this and wrap it. I grab that knot here, pull it. Then I take the other end, see? This is the other end. I do the same thing, pull it, see, through my hand, and pull it here. That means that you have something that looks like this. And see, so the two knots are at the bottom. What you do is you flip it. Can you see I flipped it? Oops, sorry. You take the knots here and you flip it inside of what is now a bag, right? So I can start filling this up. You see, I can start filling it up with things. I'll grab my bag and then I'll stick them in here so you can get a feeling of it. See, I fill that up and then I take this, right? Take this and then I have some choices, but I'll take this and then if I don't want something to fall out, then I pull it very, see, like this. And then I take this and make a knot here, that knot like this, or the pull it, and then like this. And now I have a bag. Whee, so exciting. So I'm going to give you a minute to think about that. If you're able to take a second and grab a square, I'm going to be showing you some other things. And then you could, I'm trying to post this, so, but apparently I can't. So I guess I'll get back to it. One square, 70 centimeters or 90 centimeters. And I can't do it that. So I guess I'm going to take this out. Then you just, the other thing is you can see this, the space, so you can actually, if you have more things to put in, like you forgot something, then you just do this, look, slide it up. Oh, I can put more things in, right? And I can fill her up, right? This is such a great thing because it's one piece of cloth. It's one piece of cloth. I'm sure you have a piece of cloth there. If you want to get fancy, if you want to, you know, if this is going to be the cloth that you want to use and you want to invest, there are options out there such as this one. And it will save you actually a lot of time and money and energy and guilt because it's environmentally friendly, it's responsible, and it's beautiful, right? And there's no tape and there's no constraint. So when you use this, you are able to form it to the size. So if you go and you're going to buy a melon, for example, you can take this and have the Furoshiki shape to. Now I'm not showing you a melon this one because we really are talking about gift wrap unless you're giving away melons for Christmas or the holiday season. I'm going to show you some really practical and some of my favorite ones. So hopefully there's space. The next one I'm going to show you is books, 2 books. So I'm going to take this. Now this, you can see it like out here. And then I'm going to have to do a little bit of magic of the internet. I have a book here and I have another book here. And what I'm doing is, you see, I'm taking this side and I'm laying it so that there's a triangle. I'm going to show you what that looks like for illustrative purposes. It's not going to, I'm not showing you it exact so you can see how it is. See, so this is a triangle. The triangle facing, a small triangle facing in. Does this make sense? Small triangle facing in. I'm doing that on that same thing on this other side, a small triangle facing in, right? And then, so it looks like this. This is really tricky to show you. See? And then I'm going to fold them in on themselves, right? So that looks like now you have to have the fabric fit. Now this is a little bit tricky because actually the books that I had are a little bit wide, but so you can see it, I am showing it like this. Can you see that? Okay. And this, again, is so much easier to do in real life, in real time, but it's harder to illustrate in the circumstances of trying to get the webcam set up for me and for the actual presentation. But I feel like it's worth showing you because if nothing else, you'll be inspired to do it, right? That's my thinking. So what I do is then, remember how I showed you this part? I'm going to cross the fabric. So I'm taking this piece of fabric and I'm pulling it. I'm taking the other piece of fabric and I'm pulling it the other direction. And then it looks like this. And so actually like this, and then I fold it simply. And then boom. And like I said, this fabric, you would, of course, ideally this fabric, this would be a little bit bigger, but I can make it work. For the width of the books, these two books are quite wide compared to the fabric that I'm using, but it still works. And here we have it. Looks like a little pocketbook, right? So it's a nice way to carry your books, but it's a nice way to carry your books, but it's also a nice gift. You can have the books and hand it to the person, and they have a way to take it with them home. And it's just how it looks inside. It's full, it's crossed over, and like that. Boom. So that was number 2. And you have a classic box. For example, I received a gift for the holiday season already, and that is this, actually a marzipan pig and some Danish butter cookies. So I will take this fabric and lay it out. Now we have a lot of fabric. So I will fold it in half. And like I said, I'm doing this to show you how to do it. I'm going to review it and I'll do it more in real time. So I'm taking it and I'm rolling it towards me. Rolling, 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 rolling. If you then taking this last piece, right, folding it in on itself so you cannot see the edge. So it looks like this as opposed to this. So I'm taking that piece, folding it under, so I get this, right? Then I'm taking this piece here and I'm twisting it. I'm twisting it and I'm twisting the other side as well. To tighten it up, and then I'm bringing them together here. And sorry, and I'm going to actually make a knot on this side. This is, so it looks almost like a candy. Here. And then the other side, see, so this was, see, and wrapping the other side. Pulling it. So if you wanted to have this nice gift, see, like that. Now this gift can also be wrapped in another way. So I'm going to pull this knot out, the two knots. And then I'm going to show you another way to wrap the same box. So I've wrapped it up, it's partially done, and then just untwist. So it's just a long piece here. It's been folded around and it's been rolled like I showed you. And then I'm going to take it here, both of them here, and do that original fold upon itself. I'm going to pull the piece in front of me. I'm going to take it with my right hand and push it through and wrap it underneath so that I see now have this. This is what it looks like now. Pull it, see? And then I'm going to repeat the knot through and pull it through. And I'm going to, see, this is to pull it through. And then I'm going to not finish the knot. So when I say finish the knot, I just mean to make it look more presentable. So take the knot so it looks like a nicer piece. Don't think you have to see it. You'll see it when I do it. You'll see the end result and you'll get it. And like that, one example, another example. See? You can also have it off to the side, of course. And then there's another way. So you're getting the point. No tape, no muss, no fuss. Getting some fabric, cutting up an old shirt. If you don't sew, you can take the edges of an old piece of fabric, fold it over with, they have, I can't remember the name of it, but especially you just make a seam. I mean, if you sew, you can make a seam here. You just fold the fabric over and sew it so you don't have a raw edge, right? But if you don't sew, you can also use I think it's called fleeceline, it's called fleeceline in Danish. It's it's a small, like webbing. You put it in, and when you put fabric over fabric, and then like a washcloth, a dry washcloth, and then steam on top of it, and the heat melts it, so you don't have to sew. And if you want another type of look, you can always take some zigzag scissors and just cut the edge so it doesn't fray. I did an event. I worked with a caterer and did an event for, I don't know, 50 people or something like that, and created the Furoshiki for them by ordering organic fabric and then cutting all the squares up and zigzagging them in the interest of time. And it gave a nice cozy, it was red and white squares like the Italian tablecloths. And we wrapped up the food. We used these Wecco glasses. The food was a part of their brand. And so there were 4 bottles on the cloth. We wrapped the bottles and they had a dessert also on top. So we wrapped all the food, and then we put or I put the fork and the knife and the napkins in to the side after I had wrapped it. So they got a package, a group of four, they got a package each. And when they unwrapped that package onto the table, it was a tablecloth. So that's also like great for another time of year. That's another video for another occasion. But what else do we want to see? Oh, Lori, what do we want to know? We want to see how do we wrap a bottle. Bottles are, it's holiday time. So I have a bottle of wine. And how do I do that? I take the bottle and actually maybe I want to have this. This is a brand. So therefore there's a tag in it. There's two tags in it. Whereas if you do this at home, then there won't be tags in it. And that will make it easier to just, it won't matter really where you're wrapping it, right? That was the point I was trying to make. So I am taking this, again, this is kind of the magic of video, but I'm taking that the end of the triangle. I have this set up like this, right? So I'm taking this end and I'm bringing it all the way to this end so that it is now a triangle. It was a square, or it was a diamond. I'm sorry, it was a diamond, and now it is a triangle. And I can't lift it. You're gonna have to just trust me on this. You'll be able to see it in a second, I promise you. This one actually because the fabric is there's so much fabric here on this one that it might be easier. I'm going to do it like this because the bottles. So I'm going to take that maybe for illustrative purposes, taking these, see, I am making the knot here. I'm tying it and holding the bottle at the same time. It's a little bit trickier. It's easier to do with, like I said, a smaller bottle with a smaller piece of fabric that fits, because then it's not as cumbersome, but it still works. You'll see. So we take this and this, right? Just fell off. And then I wrap it around. And I'm going to do the adjusting. So actually, so you can see it this way. I'm going to just place hold it basically, because what I want to do is get this a little bit, this looks a little crazy. So you can see here, right? I'm tightening that. I made the bow here. You have also an option to tighten it like this. So if you're going to simply be decorating it to stand, yeah, there we go. Can you see this? So by flipping that through, right. So like I said, it's going to look something like this. Less fabric is going to give it a cleaner look. It's going to look more sleek. You can also, if you want to, so I'm going to use my legs for this one. So if you are going to carry it, this is also great when you're going to party, like, holiday parties, and you bring a bottle of wine or a bottle of whatever you bring, eggnog, not bottles of eggnog, I guess you can also use that for that. Then you can just carry it with you, have it with you. Boom. So there you have another one. Now, one of the versions of this that I really like is also doing the 2 bottles. You can do 1 bottle, 2 bottles, 4 bottles even, but this one is going to be 2 bottles. Again, ta-da. Once again, I'm going to have to get up for this one. And so, I have 2 bottles here. I have them aligned. And again, I'm sorry I don't have the setup for this exactly ideal, but I want you to do this with the bottles in the middle of the cloth. So you can tell, or if I slide this over, so this tip should be at the middle of the cloth. So now I have a triangle again. I have a triangle shape. I have a triangle shape. I have the bottles bottom to bottom facing out like this in the center, and then I'm rolling this towards me. Now, ideally, it's going to be tight, like a sausage, right? And so I have the 2 bottles. The 2 bottles are bottom to bottom facing out, and then you see I rolled it, and then what I do is after I've rolled it, then I think because this is a little bit loose, I folded the tip in, so you can see this part I folded in, and then I'm going to fold these together. So far I actually did something with my hand. So folded this together, and then boom, this goes here, underneath and through. And then I take these and I take that, sorry. There we go. So you have your bottles you can carry to the party. You got your 2 bottles. You can also use 4, like I said, but I have, for illustrative purposes, I have borrowed 2 here where I am, since I'm not at home. And the thing about this also, you want to, I'm pushing this down to show you, so I can show you this also, that, see what you do, see, I don't know if you could see that, see this, and then here, you can also use for a card to slide right in there. Right? So there you go. Or actually, I don't think I would put a smaller card in. Let's see if I have that. I don't have a smaller card. I have a card here, which is just but a little, like a note card, a small one would be better to fit in there. Otherwise, I think what I would do normally with this, then you could either put the card in between, if you are using cards, and that is another example of Furoshiki. So helpful, carrying it this, see? And the beauty is that you don't worry that the bottom's going to fall out because the weight of the bottles and is anchored, the fabric is folded under and over, so the weight actually secures it even more underneath here. So you're not going to have, when you're traveling, you're not going to have the bottles, you know, the fabric's not going to snap or break or anything. I mean, if you're using it, if you're reusing, repurposing fabric, then do be careful that it's not so worn that that could be a risk. You have to, of course, make sure that that's going to be, the fabric's going to be strong enough. So that's another version. That was 2 versions of wrapping with the bottles. More ways to do this. And I'm going to show you another way. See, we have 2. So I was showing you where we're using this basically like the diamond, but you can also take this and take that box, which is super, super big, actually. And I can, because this is one side over here. So I'm taking the 2 sides of the square, 2 on the opposite sides, not in a diamond shape, but parallel. And then I'm tying them down. Then I'm taking the other one and doing the same, tying it down. So I basically have this happening. See, at this point, see, this is what's happening. And then I'm getting a little fancy. Then I'm crossing them over. See these 2? I'm crossing them over. To tighten. And then crossing the other 2 over. Right. Boom. And then one final. This is a little bit more of a fancy one, I guess one could say. It's a real one with knots. I didn't really see that one because that one was a little bit more complicated, unfortunately, the way that the camera is set up. But I took several knots and just made this so it made it, I built on it by building the 2 knots with the parallel size, knot 1, knot 2, and then knot 3, then knot 4, and then rounded together to make a little bit of a rosette. So here we are. And that was yet another version of gift wrapping. The box, using the box. So there's a lot of fun things you can do with Furoshiki. It is a good way to save yourself the stress of gift wrap. It is a good way to save the environment, to help with the environment, and to show a little attention to detail. It's a nice added twist to the everyday um, piles of pollutant paper because you think, oh, I'm getting recycled paper. If you have to be careful about the recycled paper because often a lot of the paper is lined with plastic, and a lot of the glitter and, well, glitter, that says it all. A lot of the embellishments also have plastic or metals, or it's mixed, and then you can't cleanly dispose of them. So I understand if you want to go out and you want to buy beautiful papers. I mean, the papers that are out there. And before I started doing Furoshiki, I think it's about 10 years. It's more than 10 years ago, 12 years ago. Before I started doing it, I would spend a lot of time wrapping gifts and cutting them out a special way and trying to match the patterns. Okay, it's the designer in me. They the feeling of doing it. I would enjoy spending the time to wrap it, even at the last minute when you're a little bit stressed. But the idea of like getting that tape on there so it was exact and not the messy kind, where people basically try to tape the whole gift in unnecessarily. So I did not bring it. I don't actually have tape. I don't think I have tape in my house at this point. Otherwise, I would show you how to quote unquote properly wrap a paper and taped gift, because you don't need to use as much tape as most people do, and you can do small little tricks and things like rolling the tape and folding over the corners so that you get a more finished, like a professional look, a professional wrapping job. So if you are going to go out and use paper resources, you're going to use the more traditional. See if you can do it more responsibly. Is there a reason why you have to invest all that money and all that time and then take the gifts and then rip them apart? Or in the very least, when you're planning your wrapping, think like a seamstress and place the gifts appropriately so you don't waste all the fabric. So if you have a fabric like this, don't just put the gift here and then just cut off a piece haphazardly. Make sure that you place the gift, if there's a small gift, then and it goes in this corner, then don't put it here and then cut around it. Cut it here and then use the other pieces accordingly. That's if you really must. But I think after this demonstration, you really should be considering using this. So to recap, your knots, not actually the first knots I showed you were this, two pieces either side like this, pulled together. Then I take the piece that's over the other piece and bring it under. Then I pull, and then I take those pieces and I put the left, that this is my right hand, and then I take this piece and pull it through and pull it under. The reason I was hesitating, because again, the challenge of when you have tags, I did not cut it out of this one, and then it's easier to make it look prettier because you don't have to worry about the tag sticking out. So you have this look, right? And then you just pull this side and it opens up, right? That other knot that I did was the easy one on the side, especially remember if you're gonna have your fabric, you wanna go grocery shopping, you just simply make a triangle and then you grab the one side, pull it, flip it, slide it through, and pull it. That's one side. Then you take this side, you pull it, flip it, slide the tail through, and pull it. And that gives you this side, this something that looks like this. Now I'm going to flip it. So I put it inside out, right? So if you have a fabric that is, if you only have one side to the fabric, I actually recommend, it's so much more beautiful if you actually have fabric that has patterns on both sides, or that it's printed so that it goes through, or that it's one color and then a singular color and then a pattern on the other side. I think that's a really nice design embellishment without having to do too much more. If you're making it yourself, you could also take two pieces of fabric and sew them together, and then on three sides, and then flip them inside out, or actually can even do part of the fourth side, flip them inside out as if you were basically making a pillowcase, and then use the fabric, but then use that. Then you have two different patterns. However, you have to make sure that the fabric isn't too thick, because it's hard to make the knots if the fabric's too thick. So here's the let's make a bag thing. I would start filling it up, but you can see it's basically, it's pretty sizable. And the great thing is, if you realize I have more things, then you make the knot further out. If you need a bigger bag, you make the knot further out on the end. If you have fewer things, you make the knot closer to the center. And then that allows you to fill her up and put all the things you need. You can just start throwing stuff in here, right? In the bag. I mean, I don't think it would be smart, but I could even, put bottles in here, right? I could put the bottles in there, but I think the bottle wrap is so much smarter and makes life easier. And then you just tie it like this at the top, through, twist, and then through, and then boom, like this. And then you can carry it. And if you want to make it higher, you can even take it with you. Looks a little bit like the hobo carrier. That you take a scarf and then wrap it and tie it on a stick and then carry it. But we are almost there. Let's see. So I showed you how to wrap that bag, and I'm going to show you how to wrap the books again. Box, I guess I can do real quick. And let's do it in the order we did it in. So the books, 2 books. It's easier if you have the same size. You pull in you make 2 triangles basically. And then you flip that triangle underneath the book. Oops, just dropped it off the table. So if I can get this I can hold it. Here we go. So it looks like that. I'm not sure you can see that well enough. Bear with me again. So triangle, folded diamond, and I took the triangles here and folded them in on the book on either side. Now I'm going to fold the book again. So I folded it in, and then I folded it in, and on both books, this, like I said, the fabric on here is not really broad enough for the books, but I made it work before. I will make it work again. It's not as sturdy as the other one, but it will still save itself. And that is taking this, the books are now wrapped in here, and I'm taking either side, crossing over, crossed over, and I get this. And then what I do is simply fold that, and then look, see here. Then I tie these together. So I tie these to each other, and it looks a little bit like a pocketbook. And it's this part here. Okay, so that was the books. We'll do bottle. So take that bottle. I'm going to do it standing up. It's easier to, oh, here's another one. We can also take this. I take all of these, right? Oops, oh. You got to get it even in the middle. You pull that. And if you have a hair tie, you can pull that. This helps because then you can actually, you know what? I can do this. I do have this ribbon that I had received as a gift. That's the other thing. You can use the gifts you have or the wrappings you have that are in good stead. Slide this through. See, and then I pull it like this. This is really just to help me secure this, but I could have it wrapped like this if I wanted. Then I take this. See, take this. Wow, it's really exciting. And take this. Tying it all together, basically, right? So I can, actually, what did I just do? I meant to pull it. I'm sorry. Just a second. I decided to do another wrap. Make sure you know which wrap you're going to do. So you gather all of it together. See, now it's all together, and then I fold it so it looks a little bit nicer there. Folding it here, here, and then, like I said, if you have a like a hairband, an extra hairband that you have, because you have these pieces here, and if it's tight here, so I'm using this as an example and tying it with this and then pulling it. Pulling it, and then I'm opening this part to wrap it around the other side. See, you can't see for the, looks like bunny ears. So then I'm taking this like this and tying it. There you go. And you can tie it into a, you can use the folds to make it a little bit more like that. You can do it quickly, or you can, you know, fuss with it a little bit more by do it relatively. I want to have that there. Then I take these and I can have them being very like bunny ears down, or I can take them and pull. Now I'm actually basically doing like a braid. through. And I can use this to carry. Ta-da. So you can carry that, see? And I hope that you guys are going to use this. It's very easy. It's very accessible. It's not expensive. It doesn't have to be. It could be. It's expensive if you want. You can go out and buy a real expensive piece of cloth, or you can see what you have at home and use that. And I'm going to show you this as we get to the top of the hour. And it's one of my favorites because it's so handy, whether you're, going shopping and bringing drinks. You can also do this with beers. You can do this with, soda, bottles of soda, bottles, or, whatever you can also do it with milk cartons, squares. Actually, I shouldn't say milk cartons because I'm thinking of Danish milk cartons. And of course you can wrap anything with Furoshiki. So of course you can wrap with giant American gallon jugs of milk, I guess, but just haven't had to try it. So I don't know. I'd have to think about how I was going to do that. Then I put these together and tie them together here. This goes through here, and this goes up, and boom. Sudden. That's it. Ta-da! So that is Furoshiki. This is why you want to spend some time and learning how to make a few knots, have some cloth, and change the impact on the world, and actually the impact with your friends when you deliver these beautifully wrapped gifts out of cloth. So I hope that this was educational and inspirational for you. I'm Lori Webb, and I'm going to be signing off for day 4 of the Entrepreneur Hotline. Gail will be kickstarting the next segment in just a minute. She's going to be taking this in Copenhagen, the night shift, or however, well, it's actually the night shift for her. It's about to be the evening night shift. And I'll be back tomorrow at 9 a.m. Central Eastern Time. Until then, take care and enjoy your day, evening, night, wherever you are. Bye.